Italy is renowned for its breathtaking beauty, rich culture, and storied history. From the ancient ruins of the Colosseum and the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica to its world-class cuisine and artistic treasures, Italy is a destination that has captivated the hearts of travelers and historians alike. Despite its impressive heritage, Italy is relatively young, only unified in 1861. This is surprising given that Italy's history stretches back centuries, with the Etruscan civilization, the Roman Empire, and the papacy all leaving their mark on the country. Before its unification, Italy was a collection of separate states, with Austria and France exerting significant control over the region. However, the Risorgimento, the unification led by the legendary Giuseppe Garibaldi, united the country and forged Italy as we know it today. This remarkable history has profoundly impacted the world, shaping the course of politics, religion, and culture. Join us as we explore the fascinating story of Giuseppe Garibaldi, the charismatic leader who shaped modern Italy. Before we get started, Before Now channel is dedicated to helping people understand historical events and how they have shaped our present. If you like videos such as these, please like and subscribe to this amazing channel. You can also leave a comment and tell us what popular historical event you'd like us to cover. Giuseppe Maria Garibaldi was an Italian general, patriot, revolutionary, and republican. He played a key role in the unification of Italy, a movement known as the Risorgimento, which led to the creation of the Kingdom of Italy. Garibaldi is celebrated as one of Italy's fathers of the fatherland, alongside Camillo Benso, Count of Cavour, Victor Emmanuel II of Italy, and Giuseppe Mazzini. Known as the Hero of Two Worlds, Garibaldi earned this title for his military campaigns in both South America and Europe. His adventurous spirit and dedication to freedom made him legendary in the fight for independence and unity. Giuseppe Maria Garibaldi, originally christened Joseph Marie Garibaldi, was born in Nice on July 4, 1807. At the time, Nice was part of the French Republic, as it had been conquered in 1792. Garibaldi's parents were Domenico Garibaldi from Chiavari and Maria Rosa Nicoletta Raimondi from Lona. In 1814, the Congress of Vienna returned Nice to Victor Emmanuel I of Sardinia, though it was later ceded back to France in 1860, despite Garibaldi's objections. Garibaldi grew up in a family involved in coastal trade, which sparked his interest in maritime life. From 1828 to 1832, he lived in the Pera district of Constantinople, where he worked as an instructor teaching Italian, French, and mathematics. In April 1833, Garibaldi sailed to Taganrog in the Russian Empire on the schooner Clorinda, transporting a shipment of oranges. During his 10-day stay in port, he met Giovanni Battista Cuneo, a politically active immigrant from Oneglia and a member of the secretive Young Italy movement led by Giuseppe Mazzini. The secret society aimed to unite Italy under the slogan, "One free, independent, Republican nation." Mazzini believed a popular uprising could unify Italy and spark a wave of revolutions across Europe. The group's motto was God and the people. Its core principle was the true Italian liberty could only be achieved by merging the various states and kingdoms into a single republic. The vision for the new nation was clear. It had to be one independent, free republic. Mazzini truly believed this and fervently advocated for the unification of Italy as a liberal republic through political and social reforms. Through Mazzini's advocacy, the first spark of the republicanism fire was ignited in young Giuseppe's heart. Just 7 months after being introduced to republicanism through the Young Italy movement, Garibaldi met Giuseppe Mazzini in Genoa in November 1833. This meeting marked the beginning of a long but eventually troubled relationship. Garibaldi joined the Carbonari, a revolutionary group, and in February 1834, he took part in a failed uprising in Piedmont led by Mazzini. After the failed insurrection in Piedmont, Garibaldi knew he had to leave Italy for a while. He first sailed to the Beylik of Tunis before eventually going to Brazil. Garibaldi's stay in South America was where his real genius and tact for war came on full display for the world to see. One could argue that his time in South America was meant to prepare him for the daunting tasks ahead. Once there, he joined the rebels known as the Ragamuffins in the Ragamuffin War of 1835, supporting the Rio Grandense Republic's attempt to break away from Brazil. During this war, Garibaldi met Ana Maria de Jesus Ribeiro de Silva, better known as Anita. When the rebels declared the Catarinese Republic in Santa Catarina in 1839, Anita joined Garibaldi aboard his ship Rio Pardo and fought with him in Imbituda and Laguna. In 1841, Garibaldi and Anita moved to Montevideo, Uruguay, where Garibaldi worked as a trader and schoolmaster. They married the following year at the Church of St. Francis of Assisi in the Ciudad Vieja neighborhood and had 4 children: Domenico, Menotti, Rosa, Teresa, Terista, and Ricciotti. Anita, a skilled horsewoman, is said to have introduced Garibaldi to the gaucho culture of Argentina, southern Brazil, and Uruguay. Around this time, he adopted his iconic attire of a red shirt, poncho, and sombrero, commonly worn by gauchos. In 1842, Garibaldi took command of the Uruguayan fleet and formed an Italian legion of soldiers, known as the Red Shirts, for the Uruguayan Civil War. Montevideo had a significant Italian population, which facilitated his recruitment efforts. Garibaldi allied with the Uruguayan Colorados, led by Fructuoso Rivera and Joaquin Suarez, who were supported by the Argentine Unitarian Party, as well as French and British forces against the Blancos, led by former Uruguayan President Manuel Oribe, and supported by Argentine federals under Juan Manuel de Rosas. The Italian Legion adopted a black flag symbolizing Italy in mourning, with a volcano representing the dormant power of their homeland. Although contemporary sources do not specifically mention the red shirts, popular history claims they first wore them in Uruguay. Sourced from a Montevideo factory that had intended to export them to Argentine slaughterhouses, these shirts became the symbol of Garibaldi and his followers. From 1842 to 1848, Garibaldi defended Montevideo against Oribe's forces. In 1845, he captured Colonia del Sacramento and Martin Garcia Island, leading infamous raids on Martin Garcia. During the Anglo-French blockade of the Rio de la Plata, Garibaldi narrowly escaped death after being defeated at the Battle of Costa Brava in August 1842, thanks to the mercy of Admiral William Brown. Brown famously stopped his men from pursuing Garibaldi, declaring, "Let him escape. That gringo is a brave man." In honor of the admiral, Garibaldi later named his grandson William. Garibaldi achieved victories in the Battle of Cerro and the Battle of San Antonio del Santo in 1846, using amphibious guerrilla tactics. Indeed, if his time in South America were a test to prepare him for the work ahead, Garibaldi would have passed with flying colors. Garibaldi returned to Italy during the revolutions of 1848 and became a key leader of the Action Party. He offered his services to Charles Albert of Sardinia, who had some liberal tendencies but was met with distrust and indifference. Rebuffed by the Piedmontese, Garibaldi and his followers moved into Lombardy to assist in the provisional government of Milan, which had risen against Austrian rule. During the First Italian War of Independence, Garibaldi led his legion to mirror victories in Luino and Marazzone. After the crushing defeat of the Piedmontese at the Battle of Novara on March 23, 1849, Garibaldi went to Rome to support the newly proclaimed Roman Republic in the Papal States. However, the Republic faced a threat from a French force sent by Louis Napoleon at Mazzini's urging. Garibaldi took command of Rome's defense. During the fighting near Velletri, his life was saved by Achille Cantoni. After Cantoni's death at the Battle of Mentana, Garibaldi honored him by writing the novel Cantoni the Volunteer. On April 30, 1849, Garibaldi's Republican army achieved a remarkable victory, defeating a much larger French force at the Porta San Pancrazio gate in Rome. However, French reinforcements soon arrived, and the siege of Rome began on June 1st. Despite the determined resistance of Garibaldi and his troops, the French prevailed on June 29th. The next day, the Roman assembly convened to decide their next move: surrender, continue street fighting, or retreat to the Apennine Mountains to carry on the resistance. Garibaldi, entering the chamber covered in blood, passionately argued for the third option, declaring, "Ovunque noi saremo sarà Roma," Wherever we go, that will be Rome. A truce was negotiated on July 1st through 2nd. Garibaldi withdrew from Rome with 4,000 troops, relinquishing his plan to spark a popular uprising against the Austrians in central Italy. On July 3rd, the French army entered Rome and restored the Holy See's temporal power. Garibaldi and his men, pursued by Austrian, French, Spanish, and Neapolitan forces, fled north to reach Venice, where resistance against the Austrian siege continued. After a grueling march, Garibaldi found temporary refuge in San Marino with just 250 loyal followers. Tragically, during the retreat, Anita, who was pregnant with their 5th child, contracted malaria and succumbed to the deadly disease near Camaccio. Garibaldi eventually made his way to Porto Venere near La Spezia, but the Piedmontese government forced him into exile again. He traveled to Tangier, where he stayed with Francesco Carpenetto, a wealthy Italian merchant. Carpenetto proposed financing a merchant ship for Garibaldi to command, allowing him to make a living while his political goals seemed out of reach. Garibaldi agreed and spent his 5-year exile traveling to places like New York, Staten Island, Peru, and London, where he received a hero's welcome at Tyneside in 1854. Garibaldi returned to Italy in 1854. With an inheritance from his brother's death, he bought half of the island of Caprera, north of Sardinia, and dedicated himself to farming. When the Second Italian War of Independence broke out in 1859, Garibaldi was appointed Major General and formed a volunteer unit called the Hunters of the Alps. Realizing that the Sardinian monarchy was the most effective force for uniting Italy, he abandoned Mazzini's republican ideals. Garibaldi and his volunteers won against the Austrians at Varese, Como, and other locations. However, Garibaldi was deeply upset when his hometown of Nice, Nizza in Italian, was ceded to France in exchange for military support. In April 1860, as a deputy for Nice in the Piedmontese parliament in Turin, he fiercely criticized Camillo Benzo, Count of Cavour, for surrendering the county of Nice to Emperor Napoleon III of France. In the following years, Garibaldi and other passionate Nizzardo Italians supported the Italian irredentism movement for his native city and backed Nissard Vespers riots in 1871. On January 24, 1860, Garibaldi married 18-year-old Giuseppina Raimondi. However, immediately after the wedding ceremony, she revealed that she was pregnant with another man's child, prompting Garibaldi to leave her the same day. In early April 1860, uprisings in Messina and Palermo in the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies presented Garibaldi a new opportunity. He assembled a group of volunteers known as the 1,000, or 1,000, popularly called the Red Shirts. On the evening of May 5th, they set sail from Quarto near Genoa, aboard 2 ships named Il Piemonte and Il Lombardo. They landed at Marsala on the westernmost point of Sicily on May 11th. Garibaldi quickly bolstered his army with local rebels and led 800 volunteers to a significant victory over an enemy force twice their size at the Battle of Calatafimi on May 15th. In a bold move, he ordered an uphill bayonet charge, using the terraced landscape to shield his advancing men. While not as large as later clashes, this battle was crucial in establishing Garibaldi's authority on the island. History has it that during the fight, he turned to his lieutenant Nino Bixio and said, "Here we either make Italy or we die." After this success, Garibaldi declared himself dictator of Sicily in the name of Victor Emmanuel II of Italy. He then laid siege to Palermo, the island's capital, on May 27th. Although initially supported by many locals, their uprising was met with fierce resistance and bombardment from reinforcements. However, a British admiral intervened to broker a truce, leading to the surrender of the Neapolitan royal troops and warships, allowing Garibaldi's forces to take control of the city. Garibaldi marched north across the Strait of Messina, encountering more celebration than resistance. He entered Naples, the capital city, on September 7th by train. Despite this triumph, he faced a formidable challenge in defeating the Neapolitan army at the Battle of Volturno on September 30th. Though it was his largest battle, victory was ultimately secured with the arrival of the Royal Sardinian Army. As Garibaldi's successes grew, so too did uneasiness in Piedmont, particularly among Prime Minister Cavour. He feared that further revolutionary victories could provoke French intervention and jeopardize Piedmont's recent territorial gains. Garibaldi, who deeply distrusted Cavour, supported King Victor Emmanuel II, whom he admired for championing Italian independence. In a historic meeting with Victor Emmanuel at Teano on October 26, 1860, Garibaldi hailed him as King of Italy and rode into Naples at his side on November 7th. Despite his pivotal role, Garibaldi retired to his island refuge of Caprera, refusing any reward for his services. This marked the beginning of the end for the scattered Italian states and set the stage for the unification process the following year. In his later years, Garibaldi battled arthritis and was often bedridden. Despite his health struggles, he made trips to Calabria and Sicily. In 1880, he married Francesca Amorsino, with whom he had 3 children previously. Before the wedding, he made it clear that he was not a Catholic and expressed willingness to convert to Protestantism. Though he was raised in the Catholic faith, Garibaldi renounced Christianity toward the end of his life, becoming a deist and a supporter of Freemasonry. As his health declined, Garibaldi requested to have his bed moved so he could see the sea before he passed. When he died on June 2, 1882, at nearly 75 years old, his wish for a simple funeral and cremation was disregarded. Instead, he was buried on his farm on the island of Caprera, alongside his last wife with some of his children.